So anyways, I will call the meeting in order. Welcome everybody to our first community services meeting with the new council here. And I also want to again welcome our new director of community services, Tim. Congratulations again for being our new director, and we're so thankful to have you with us, and looking forward to having, we're all kind of new here, so it's a great start to the new year. So welcome.
Thank you, Brad. I'm definitely looking forward to it. There's a lot of exciting projects coming up, so great to have a new council, like you said, go forward with all these new ventures we're looking at.
Absolutely. Well, thank you and welcome. Item number 2 is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Seeing none. Item 3 is delegations, for which we have none scheduled. Item number 4 is our department update. And Tim, I'll turn it over to you to kind of give us an update on what's going on.
All right. I think what I'll first do, Brad, do the Councillor Beatty, that with some of the newer members of council, give an overview of what the department is and who is in charge of what, and then I'll, if there's anything I miss, I would like to say I know exactly what's going on, but after 4 days, I still got a little bit of learning to do here. So
perfect.
So the overview of community services is we have manager Quinn Malott, who is in charge of parks and forestry, as well as the cemetery operations. With the parks, there's 115 acres of parkland, 66 acres of natural areas, 15 kilometers of trails, Lake Victoria, 30 outdoor playgrounds, the city streets and park areas, and obviously our beautification of the downtown and flower beds on the city limits. Cemetery, maintenance of the grounds, keeping that, I think my interpretation has always been cemetery is an extension of the park system. A lot of people use that as a park. As well, it's the maintenance, the interments, and I think for some of the newer councillors, it's important to understand that when you maybe see columbariums within the capital budget, that's because in-ground burials are becoming almost obsolete. You don't see as many as you used to. And part of space saving and utilizing area is to use the columbariums. It's a really, financially, to be truthful, it is a good financial driver, but we're also saving space. And I think Quinn had it at, Quinn, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're at about 65% cremation. So the number's going up, and it goes up every year. So
65% cremation, that includes niche walls and burials on top of full caskets, because you can put 4 cremations on top of each grave.
Right.
Each traditional grave. So
next department that we have is our recreation programs. We have manager Brad Herndon in charge of this. A lot of the areas a lot of recreation, leisure opportunities. We also, I think the key areas we serve are the adults over 55. I'm not there yet. Aquatics, the community and sport groups, community events, child and youth day camps, the public skating, special youth initiatives, and the outdoor sport activities such as beach volleyball, pickleball, tennis and basketball, and also with event support. Brad will also be one of my key managers in helping bring forth the sports tourism and the municipal cultural plan. Brad, do you have anything else you would like to add?
That sounds about right, Tim, but yeah, looking forward to bringing both of those strategies forward. The sport tourism strategy will be coming actually quite shortly, I think this month, to council. And then the municipal cultural plan, the final report should be delivered end of March, and hoping to get it to you April, early May. So
great.
Nice to see everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, great initiatives, and that's going to be one of our big pushes with this current council to get those in place. So next group will be Manager Mark Hackett, and we have the facilities. One of the big adds on this is we are taking on more of the facility maintenance. So a lot of the facilities are now coming under community services. And I think moving forward, we're going to see a lot more city buildings coming under our umbrella. Currently, the facilities that are under services are the William Almond Arena, Dufferin, The Rotary Complex, which has the 2 ice surfaces, 4 community halls, the walking track and meeting halls, beach volleyball courts, multi-use fields, the Packham Sports Complex, which we have the 5 baseball diamonds, the artificial turf soccer field and 5 soccer fields. They maintain the Lions pools, splash pad, tennis and pickleball courts, the Agriplex, which includes the farmers market, bingo hall, field house, meeting rooms, active adults facilities, as well during the summer months, the outdoor washroom facilities. Some of the buildings that we have inherited are like the gallery, Stratford, City Hall Annex, and Hathaway Daycare, the Justice Building, Stratford Public Library, Tourism Stratford Office, Stratford Transit Facilities, and Discovery Center. Mark, if you have anything extra you would like to add, please go ahead.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that introduction, Tim. Nice to see everybody this afternoon. Yeah, no, I think you hit on on our scope of work as far as facility goes. The only other buildings I would add to that would be our outdoor seasonal washroom facilities, such as the splash pad, the Upper Queens Park, the boathouse. Those facilities are also under our scope of work.
After the second week, Mark, I get to know that also.
Just before you carry on, Tim, I see Councillor Henderson has a question, if I might have her.
Absolutely.
I was just curious, how close are the washrooms at the boathouse to being done? Or have they even started yet?
Yeah, no, that project is well underway. Estimated finalization of completion for that project would be January the 31st. So a few weeks out here. We've got another site meeting, construction meeting next week, where I'll get another update on construction. But yeah, we anticipate by the end of January that'll be completed, and then those washrooms will become open year-round.
Oh, that's great news. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'll turn it back to you, Tim.
Great, thank you. And final, but last but not least, transit, as well with our parallel transit, Manager Michael Mousley. Transit is our, an important function that we supply to the city. We have a lot of users, as we had in our last few discussions with the council, and the parallel transit as well is a huge bonus to have the mobility, and working with that as well is a great function. I'm really impressed with how organized Mike has made this department. It's functioning very well. There's also a few other areas that Mike is working on, so I'm going to throw it to Mike to make some extra comments and go from there.
Well, thank you through the chair. Thank you, Tim, for that introduction, and thank you for the comments. Yeah, so just to reiterate, conventional transit that we operate 7 days a week, along with the mobility bus that we operate 7 days a week. I'm also heavily involved with PC Connect, which some of you might know is the community transportation pilot project that we are in partnership with the county and the city of Stratford. Heavily involved in that, something that we started from the ground up smack dab in the pandemic. So it was an interesting process to go through. So we're still working on it. Ridership is increasing steadily as time goes on. And just as a side note, on our next subcommittee meeting, there'll be a PC Connect update that will be brought forward as well. And also capital projects. I have a lot of capital projects that are funded through ICEP or the Zero Emission Transit Fund, which is through the federal government. You'll be seeing lots of information as far as plans going forward, as far as transitioning from fossil fuel buses to, as a start, a hybrid model and battery electric a little bit down the road. And just one more thing to add, I'm in the middle now of working with a consultant who's doing a feasibility study regarding that transition from fossil fuel to electrification, charging stations, facility upgrades, infrastructure, which I should have to council probably early spring of this year, to give everyone a fulsome report as far as what's going to be involved as far as the transition to change our conventional buses to electric buses down the road.
Oh, great, thanks, Mike. And then I think just to sort of finalize some of the big things that we're working on currently, obviously capital budget, which we're very excited to bring forward to council. So that will be on our next the Finance Corporate Services Subcommittee. So we'll be bringing that forward. That's a big one, and I have to bring up to the table that soup's on. The facilities crew has done the setup for this week, and encourage everybody to get out. This is it's very exciting times for community services, in my opinion. COVID now has been a little more relaxed, and we are now allowed to get out and do things again. I see big things within the community services this year that we'll be able to expand a lot more services and open up and see stuff like registration numbers increase as people are becoming more familiar and happy and comfortable to come back out. So those are the sort of things that we're looking forward to in the community services.
Great, thanks, Tim. So we also have your community services department update that we all had a chance to go over. Is there anything from the update, Tim, that you'd like to highlight for us?
Caught me off guard, Brad, to be truthful. Maybe I'll get, if there's anything, I would refer to the managers to go through that as
sure.
It's a little more
maybe I'll just walk through it and so Quinn, is there anything in the parks that want to be you would like to highlight for us?
Anything coming up this year? Well, I can talk a little bit about some of our capital projects that we're looking at. We're adding a new new playground to Marsh Pond this year. It's these are projects where we move on from park to park every year. So these play structures have a lifespan of about 15 to 20 years, and we have about 30 structures. So obviously the math doesn't work out, so we take the worst of the worst and we replace them depending on inspection reports and you know, wear and tear on the equipment. The cemetery, last year we put in the new columbarium, extended on the new columbarium walls. So we should be good for there until the following year, because as Tim had mentioned, we are selling quite a few of those, and they are quite profitable as far as an income here for us at the cemetery. We're doing also doing the historic monument replacements and straightening in the old section of the cemetery, and doing our road repairs. And this is something that we do every year. We don't do all 7 kilometers of road at the same time. We take sections, and we put about $25,000 a year onto our road system. So as far as that, we're looking forward to another full year of plant material horticulture in our beds. Last year we were pretty much all there, but this year we're back from the pre-COVID. So we're hoping to order our 100,000 annuals with hanging baskets and flower beds and everything back to normal.
Great.
Yep.
Thanks, Quinn. Tim.
I just want to add a little bit to the historical monument leveling for the councilors that aren't aware of that program. So Quinn and his lead hand will go through the cemetery and look at deteriorating stones, ones that may be tipping, and that could be potential hazards that will fall, and identify the worst and have them pointed. It could be refixed, re-leveled. Very important program, because that's one way of keeping the integrity of these stones. So that's why that program's in place, in case there was ever any questions on that one.
Yeah. And they're the historic large monuments where there isn't a lot, probably isn't families still around to have them fixed or anything like that. And the way they used to put those monuments in, they basically used to use the rocks from the burial as the foundation. So it's not like today where we have perfectly straight lines with foundations where nothing's going to move. The historic ones do need some work. So
Great. Thank you for those comments. Bonnie or Councillor Henderson?
I was just curious about that. So do we have reserves or something for that?
yeah, the reserves. So we have a perpetual care fund. And in a perpetual care fund is money that we put a certain percentage of every sale into a perpetual care fund. So that money is set aside for when this cemetery is no longer active, because it's an eternity. It's eternity. It has to be looked after. So that money goes into a fund to take care. Like we're in the same situation as private cemeteries or cemeteries, church cemeteries. I mean, we're a municipality, so it'll probably always be taken care of. But by law, we still have to give money. We still have to pay into the perpetual care fund.
So even current people that pass away now, the family that's left never has to pay. It always comes out of this fund.
As far as the monuments being fixed, they would have to pay to fix their monument. This is
But
for
if they
road.
started to tip or something, then,
They would fix it. Yeah, they would fix their own monuments.
oh, really?
Yes, yeah.
So it's just basically the older ones
The
that,
historic ones that there is no family. Yeah, perpetual care is more about taking care of this place when it's no longer active. Like all cemeteries have to be taken care of beyond its lifespan. So there's still roads to maintain, trees to maintain, grass to cut, and old monuments to fix. So that's why there's a perpetual care fund for cemeteries. That money isn't money we use to operate the place. No.
so the type of base that is being used now, in the future, say 100 years from now, these ones would probably be okay?
There's very little movement in the new monuments. Yeah,
Okay.
very little movement, and you don't typically see the tall
Yeah.
cylinder monuments anymore. They're basically more of a flat.
Do we have restrictions on the height now?
Yeah, size of the plot depends on the size of the monument. So most people
Oh, okay.
you would have to
Thanks.
buy a large plot to put up the monuments that you see in the old section.
Okay, thank you.
The way they install the foundations now, Bonnie, is quite similar like a house. They dig down and have a concrete foundation, where in the past you might not even have a concrete foundation, might be just on the ground. So that's a big difference. So they definitely do last very long.
Great. Thank you, Quinn and Tim on that. Mike, I'll turn it over to you to maybe give us a quick transit update. I know we just had you at budget. You were able to give us quite a bit of information on what's been going on at finance, but if you wouldn't mind, and Bonnie, I see you just for 1 second. If you want to just give the rest of the committee a quick update on transit, but before you do, Councillor Henderson, I'll get you to get your question out.
I wanted to ask Quinn this and I forgot. The new playground equipment on Maple Street, that looks
Yes.
lovely.
Thank you.
It's closer to the road. Are we planning to put like a fence up like we did on
No, the reason
Downey
it
Street
was-
or?
no.
Okay,
We don't think there'll be an issue there because there is a boulevard and a sidewalk between.
okay.
Now, it was put there for a few different reasons. It's very wet in
That's what I figured.
Maple Park at the back, so anytime it rained, it would flood. So accessibility, visibility, and getting it out of the swamp. So we put it a little bit closer to the road. We're hoping for less vandalism. It's very accessible and it's high and dry.
Yeah, it looks great. Thanks.
Okay.
Sorry, Mike, turn it over to you now.
All right, thank you, Councillor Beatty. Usually, when I provide updates, it usually starts with ridership numbers and compared to the year prior. In this update, we actually didn't operate on Christmas Eve because everything was closed. And one of my drivers that's been here for 40 years had never remembered a time that we didn't operate in his memory. So kind of a unique situation. Basically, we still disinfect buses nightly. not maybe necessarily as aggressive as we once did, but we still go through it and wipe the touch points. We use a mister every night to spray the interior of the buses and the mobility buses as well. And we are not planning on taking away the plexiglass for the driver protection, even when this is all done. They seem very comfortable behind them, so we're going to keep it that way. You can see in the transit capital that I have a lot of things on the go. I've always kept myself busy with transit capital, and we'll talk more about this, of course, at the finance and the budget meetings as we go forward. But you can see some of the what I've listed there as far as some projects, which includes a couple of hybrid buses. Probably be about 2 years out. I have to wait for approvals from the government for the funding before I can actually place orders with bus manufacturers. And that's about a 14. Once I get that, it's about 14 months before we actually see the buses. That's the build time for those. Like I mentioned, consultant fees. I talked about the consultant that's presently doing the feasibility study right now. I can talk about ISIP a little bit, just briefly. It started in 2017, 2018. That was through Infrastructure Canada to allow funding for transit projects. Stratford at the time was awarded up to $14 million for transit initiatives, whether they're buses, whether it was infrastructure, bus shelters. I've done a lot of bus shelters that have all been paid through this program, and we continue to do that. I had about $8 million left that I had to apply for prior to last November because the program's pretty much coming to an end. And just so you get an idea of how the finance flows, basically it's a split between the federal government, the province, and the municipality. We all kick in a share. The municipality share is 26.67% of the total cost of each project. And happy to say that at this point, because the transit agency receives provincial gas tax, which the province gives 2 cents of every liter to about 114 transit agencies that they can use for either capital or operating. We use that for capital so that our contribution to these projects doesn't hit the tax levy. So we use all the provincial gas tax to do that. As well, I put in the mobility bus or parallel transit numbers as far as how we're doing. Basically, we're probably in the 70–80% range still as far as ridership. And I'm finally happy to say our mobility bus that was ordered 2 years ago, we finally received it last week, finally, and is on the road presently. There was a lot of supply chain issues and continues to be a lot of supply chain issues, but we finally got it after 2 years, so we're happy about that. And that's pretty much my update for transit.
Mike, can you make a comment a bit on the bench program as well? For the donated.
Sorry, Tim, on the bench program you said?
Yes.
Yes. So our advertising bench program, which does give us the city some revenue. We have approximately 20 installed so far, and there'll be another 10 remaining to be installed. We get up to 30 based on kind of Creative Outdoors comes up with basically one bench for every 1,000 population. So we'll be about in the 30 range total for benches. Over the next couple months, I'll be scouting out locations. I pretty much have an idea now as far as where I like these benches to go. And they'll continue to be on main road arteries and nothing deep in the residential areas. So we're going to stick to, Downey, Erie, Huron, Ontario, those types of information. But once we pick between COA and myself, of course, I'll be coming to council with the recommendation for locations as well in a report a couple months down the road.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Mark, first off, thank you for joining us here today. It's a great way for our new council to meet our managers. I'm not sure, is there anything that you'd like to share for us on any highlights that you're seeing for the year?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I can start with sort of the monthly department update for facilities. So as Councillor Henderson had mentioned earlier, we're currently undergoing a renovation to our boathouse washroom facility. That's estimated to be completed the end of the month, January the 31st. And following the completion of that project, those washrooms will become year-round open washrooms. Previously, those washrooms have only been open seasonally, usually from May 1st until the end of September type thing. So as part of the grant funding that we received, one stipulation was that those washrooms would become a permanent fixture, which will be a benefit for the community, having an additional washroom building open in the parks area and in that downtown core. We've got a couple events that we are hosting coming up in January here, starting this weekend with the Soups On event that's going to be hosted at the Rotary Complex in the halls. That's hosted by the Alzheimer's Society. And following that, the weekend after, we've got the Great Lakes Cup hockey tournament. That's one of our largest hockey tournaments that we host throughout the season here. Here on Perth, Lakers organization puts that on. It's hosted at all of our facilities on all 4 ice surfaces, and they're expecting teams from all over Ontario for that event. So it's great that we are sort of getting out of the COVID health restrictions and gathering limits and things like that, and we can work with our user groups and organizations to again put these seasonal and annual events on. As far as touching base on capital, some of the projects we're looking at for this year would be renovations, upgrades, repairs to both our indoor and outdoor recreational facilities. So this includes tennis and pickleball facilities. We're looking at adding some additional courts and as well as repairing some of our existing courts there. We're going to be looking at energy, conservation, energy consumption initiatives for all of our city buildings. This year, this would include our arena facilities, our rec complexes, as well as the new buildings under our portfolio, such as City Hall, the Justice Building, 82 Erie with the City Hall Annex. So we're excited to look at different programs that are out there that we can, whether that's energy efficient LED lighting upgrades, more efficient operating equipment, anything that's going to help us with energy consumption and try to get the greenhouse gas emissions down for the buildings.
Great, thank you, Mark. Open up for any questions that the councillors might have for our manager of community facilities. No? Okay, see none. Last but not least, Brad, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Councillor Beatty. Just to add, I guess, to Mark's comments about city facilities, I'm based out of the Stratford Agriplex, and it's a really great facility if you haven't been here yet. There aren't any ice pads in it, but we have a 24,000 square foot gymnasium that for 6-7 months of the year has a wood floor in it. It hosts a variety of court sports, volleyball, basketball, badminton, soccer, etc. And then in some of the summer months, it turns into an agricultural barn. The gym floor comes up and agricultural activities are hosted in that facility as well. So we're seeing right now of the 30 weekends to which the floor is in the winter for the court sports, almost every weekend is hosting a provincial tournament. So we see 1,000 people every Saturday come into this space in addition to the farmers market. And throughout the course of the week as well at the Agriplex, we have a pretty robust senior program where we have over 500 senior members coming in playing pickleball. So there's lots of sport activities, arts, cards, games, etc. So our counter is pretty busy at the main office reception at the Agriplex, but we're happy to see everybody back post-COVID. At this time, we're also looking to recruit our seasonal workers at the Stratford Lions Pool. We have about 30 lifeguard instructors that we employ every season. And in that, we would then teach 1,500 to 2,000 students life-saving skills, swimming skills at the Lions Pool. And in our day camp program, we offer over 9 weeks of summer day camps, to which almost 1,200 children between the ages of 4 and 12 come into our day camp program. So I think we are going to see some recruitment challenges, as many municipalities are in both of those programs. But we have a pretty good training program for both lifeguard instructors and day camp leaders, where hopefully we'll retain some of previous year's employment. Some key priorities in the Recreation Division, I'm not sure if everybody knows, but the technology that's used in our department, so to allow people to register in programs online and for us to track facility revenue, all happens in our division in one program called Perfect Mind. So that keeps us busy. So the revenue is recorded, and the data utilization is also recorded in our division, which means we can report on who's in our facilities, what are they doing, what time of day, peak periods, prime time, non-prime time. So that helps in our service delivery and sorting out exactly where we want to put our resources. And it allows us to report back to council as well. And of course, just as it said at the top of the meeting, we are working through the sport tourism strategy, which has some interesting conclusions. I've already seen the draft report on that. And we had a great public engagement on the municipal cultural plan as well, speaking with stakeholders in the community and on the Engage Stratford platform. Many members of the public came forward to let us know what their significant cultural assets are. So looking forward to bringing that plan forward in the spring. So other than that, things are going great post-COVID, and looking forward to working with each of you on our priorities.
Thank you, Brad. Questions from our councillors for our manager of recreation. Councillor Wardolfa. You're muted, Councillor Wardolfa, you're muted.
Yeah, okay. First, thank you so much. You guys are doing a wonderful job. I'm just enjoying what all the Rotary Complex was doing. My question for Brad, for playground, for all activity, you have to have any membership, or most of people, the new family, especially Ukrainian, they want to do something activity, they have to pay, or they have any membership, please.
What we're noticing is in our day camp program, we have many newcomers actually, and this was just in the last 1 or 2 years, especially coming out of COVID. So we're happy to receive them into our program. That is, you do have to pay to come into our day camp programs. It's around $30 a mark per day, but there is subsidy available in the event that a family does need some financial assistance in those programs. But there are so many other activities that are offered where you don't have to pay, and a lot of them are outdoors. But when we have time and space in our recreation facilities to offer basketball, volleyball, etc., we do have some free time to enjoy activities there as well. So we're also quite well connected to many of the sport organizations that are running their own leagues and programs in the city. And if any newcomer, whether it be a newcomer or any citizen, needs financial assistance, we are the connecting link to places to which they can get that support.
Thank you, Brad. Any further questions for our manager?
Thank you.
Seeing none, thank you, Quinn, Mike, Mark, and Brad for the overview of what your departments are up to this year. And Tim, congratulations again for the team that's ready to roll here for us in the new year, and looking forward to everything that's going forward. So if there's no further questions or comments for the team here, item 5 is advisory committee and outside board minutes, and there are none. And item 6 is our next subcommittee meeting, which is scheduled for Thursday, February the 16th at 4:30. Yeah. If there's nothing further, I'd accept a motion to adjourn. Motion by Councillor Seven. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thanks. Good night, everyone.